Now, if Daphne suddenly cuts out while during the program, it's because of the hurricane that she's currently in the middle.
I'm in the well. It was downgraded to a tropical storm, so and there doesn't seem to be any lightning at all. So
incredibly lucky for the area.
Yeah,
it calmed down quite a bit because it was aiming right straight for New York City.
Mm-hmm. So, it's like we were kind of like thinking, oh, the subway's gonna flood again.
Good morning, everyone. Come on in. We see you out there. Where the comments are already running. The comments are open. Marv says hello.
Good morning.
Hello. Hey, are you going on? Are you going today? Are you doing today? Get us the good news. Yes, the good news is that we are on. Hello. And he said it twice. The good news is that we're on. The excellent news is that we are officially monetized. This is our first show where we are officially monetized. If you are over on YouTube, you can actually tip us.
Oh, there you go.
We are available for super chats now.
And you wanna.
And yes, exactly. And you wanna. We will thank you. Varian will thank you because all the super chat money will go to afford the broadband and maybe even his monthly StreamYard charge. And YouTube will thank you because they take about 30%.
Oh,
so.
Wow. Oh, damn. OnlyFans was taking only 20.
Well,
I don't know how to answer that.
And along with that, we it's not that we have to watch our guidelines because we've always been pretty good as far as content anyway. But I did go through and change the opening because there was some goofy company out there that kept copyright striking the opening theme music.
I was wondering how long it would take you to change, because there just comes a point where it's just easier to change it than to constantly fight a very determined troll.
Well, they're still probably going to try to copyright it because once they hit the strike, the money starts going in their direction until we can turn it around. So right. Varian told me if you don't want that to happen constantly, then you might want to go through and change the opening. So I used some stock music that I had with my my video software.
Okay. So, there you go.
And it's still light and goofy, but a lighthearted type stuff.
Right.
But, I did go through and change it a little. So and it's shorter. Hey.
Oh, there you go.
Even better. So hey everybody, this is the Sunday Funnies for the 22nd of August, 2021. Lots of fun stuff to talk about. Hopefully not too serious.
No, not at all. Not today. Not today.
We're here watching Russ Leach draw, by the way, from the dojo, black comic book black belt. So as you watch this fantastic art piece come together, we'll talk more about funny books. But first, we will kick up the opening.
Hit it.
Here we go. Hang on.
And that was cute. That's definitely the music I think of when I see the cover to 2000 AD. Yes.
It's a small world after all.
Well, it's not quite that bad. Not quite that bad. I did have kind of an Irish jig I was playing with, but no. That's what we.
So you can't play the original one because of copyright problems.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not that there's a copyright problem. It's just that there's a company out there who says there's a copyright problem.
Yeah,
and there's not. And even though Varian has documentation, he's had to go through a lot of times and answer the same freaking protest over and over and over again. And YouTube won't get the hint that there are companies out there that do this on purpose in order to try to get money from the people that are monetized. And now that we're monetized, we kind of want to remove that. So If anybody complains now, that's pretty standard
they're
music.
kind of like they're the direct descendants of patent trolls, except now they're just copyright trolls. Because it's like he said, it's like while everything is kind of like in limbo, they're automatically getting your monetization in the meantime.
I don't get that.
Yeah, so it's like, so if they keep fighting you, they're still able to get money out of you.
Yeah.
So the idea is not really to be honest about anything, really.
Yeah.
Well,
plus the idea is to stay on top of it and protest it every time it comes out.
I have a friend who's a musician, lives in America, and he's got records out, and he gave me permission and written permission to use some of his music on my films. And when I did, I got a shutdown notice off YouTube, and his publishing company won't let me use his music when he says I can. So
it's a
completely
Byzantine system. It's like I've heard of that happening too, that you can get permission from the actual musician, but whoever he's in business with the publishing rights is a completely different animal. Yeah.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I'm your host, Randy Zimmerman. I've been a long-time alternative and independent comics producer, creator, and everything in the direct market. Done a lot of stuff, been a lot of places, seen a lot of things. Not as much as Mr. Glenn Fleming over here, but done quite a bit. Right now I'm re-resurrecting Arrow Comics 4.0 for the direct market. We're putting products together, great products together, like Hero Bot Zero and Luke Stone's Hybrids. Luke Stone and the Indie Revolt book for the open market. Plus, of course, Only Death Can Save Us, which is done by guest of the show this morning, Mr. Russ Leach. But other than that, staying busy. So also with me this morning is Mr. Glenn Fleming, Glenn B. Fleming. Glenn, introduce yourself.
Thanks, Randy. Always good to be on here. Hi, everybody. My name is Glenn Fleming. I'm an English writer, artist, cartoonist, and publisher. I've written and published books on many different subjects: science fiction, children's illustrated books, NASA, Apollo astronauts who didn't get to the moon, JFK assassination, FIFA World Cup football. I also, a few years ago, I wrote and illustrated a book called 8 Seconds, which is a detailed account of my father's military experience as a paratrooper on D-Day. And to Randy was alluding to not doing as much as I've done. I don't know about that, but I like to travel, and I went to Easter Island, and I've written a book about that. I'm also currently working on my cartoon character Hatch's second comic book. I publish Comics Unlimited, a bi-monthly magazine about comics, and I'm about to release a DVD and book about my visits to Jack Kirby's house, 2 visits to Jack Kirby's house, and that should be going on a crowdfunding campaign in a couple of weeks' time. Sweet. And you can get all this stuff on Amazon or contact me.
You can always find it under Glenn Fleming. That's Glenn with 2 N's and Fleming with 1 M.
Yep, with a B.
Yep. And a B in the middle.
B in the middle, yeah.
Yep, Glenn B. Fleming.
Yep.
Also joining us this morning, returning from an absence. Right, it's been a while since you've been on.
Well, it's like we started convention season, and and then like just things just started getting crazy from there. So.
It's Daphne Lage. Daphne, introduce yourself.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Daphne Lage, and I'm a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist from New York. Currently underwater. Well, hopefully we won't be underwater. There's a tropical storm Henry right now. So I have been self-publishing comics since 1992, and I am known for my funny animal fantasy adventure Tall Tales, now currently on Kickstarter. You can find the link at egoworks.com. And my medieval fantasy soap opera Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, which also will be back on Kickstarter for issue 3 on September 20th. So again, the link is at egoworks.com. You can read both my comics online at Tall Tales Online and eagleworks.com, if I can't say that enough already. And you can check out my videos on how I make my comics on YouTube at Daphne Lage, Lage Art.
crowdfunding campaigns on a schedule.
Yeah. Well, I try to. Unlike JD, who just likes to launch campaigns whenever he feels like it.
And again, we want to remind everybody, if you hear strange noises in the background,
yes.
Daphne is in her studio with a couple of parrots this morning.
So
if you hear a smoke alarm go off or a garbage truck backing up, that might not be in your area. It might be actually from Daphne. And the birds might be a little extra excited this morning because of the weather outside.
Well, if there's thunder or anything, because he enjoys the loud noises. But he's probably the only animal I know that enjoys 4th of July.
Yeah, there you go. And that's Tropical Storm Henry.
Yes,
around here, even though it's spelt Henry.
Right.
Everybody here has been making a big deal about making sure you get the pronunciation right.
It's Tropical Storm Henri.
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 Because when it comes to being underwater, we always try to blame the French.
Yes, exactly.
Also joining us this morning is Mr. Russ Leach. Russ,
hello.
Comic Book Black Belt. Introduce yourself.
Hello. Yes, I am the Comic Book Black Belt. I like to think of Randy as the Nick Fury, the original Nick Fury of comics, and Glenn maybe as the Watcher. I think that would be appropriate.
I would be happy to be either version of Nick Fury.
If you hear any, it's about the size of it. And
as long as the damn flirkin doesn't scratch my eye out again.
If you hear any strange noises in my studio, it's probably just me going quietly mad. I come from the UK. I've drawn comics in anger since 2010. Been an illustrator and a designer, art director my whole career. So spanning about 35 years now or so. I came to comics and I do a bit for Doctor Who. Been on Doctor Who Adventures. I've done a couple of pieces for Doctor Who magazine recently. I also drew a stretch for Ben 10 for Cartoon Network. Did some work for Marvel on licensed characters, and then ended up realizing that I should just go and make my own books, which is why I'm now with Arrow Comics. But also, you can pick up my own book as a crowd-funded graphic novel as well. So there's something for everybody. You can find out more about me at my websites, which you'll find out at the end of this of the broadcast. But more importantly, go to Comic Book Black Belt on YouTube, where you can see me draw on a Monday night and drink a bit.
Drink a bit.
Drink a bit of whiskey.
Just a tad.
Just a tad.
Good. Okay. Well, there we are.
That's us.
The theme of the show, because we need a theme of the show anymore, because we go wandering all over the place. We tend to here on Sunday Funnies. Is hey, read any good funny books lately?
Ooh.
No.
You read any good funny books lately?
Been trying to produce a few, but I've not read any.
Yeah, I know. It's like exactly. I mean, I saw a couple of good ones. JD got his monthly stash.
Got his monthly?
His monthly stash from
by the way, folks, we are TVMA DLSV.
From DCBS, which is a discount comic book distributor, because never pay full price for anything. And he got the second issue of the European version of the Conan,
Sumerian.
The Sumerian. There we go. Yeah. The Sumerian, the second issue. And what I found absolutely fascinating about this particular issue is that it's all all these European artists, which is a completely different aesthetic, is redoing all of the Conan stories that we usually that I recognized all of them from the essential Savage Sword of Conan's that I have over here. And it was just really funny to recognize the stories. But just seeing them in a very different take. And there was one in particular that stood out. I think it's called The Frost Giant's Daughter. This one is just like constantly getting redone. And
well, the reason for that is that was the first Conan story
okay.
that Howard wrote, and it was also the first story to jump into public domain.
Oh, okay. Because
So-
that one, because that one really topped out of it. Because I remember the one that's in Savage Sword of Conan. So, so then it's like, oh, okay. So it's like I'm looking through this and I go, oh, it's the Frost Giant's daughter. I recognize this, right? So I start looking through it, and it's like, and you can see all the basic beats, like comparing it to the original. I forgot who drew the original version. Might have been.
I believe Barry Smith actually did a version of that
Right.
very early on in the
Yeah.
Conan run.
In
the first 25 that he did.
Right.
Then, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say Ron Sutton came through. And Ron Sutton, was it? Oh, I can see that. I can see the style in my head. He did a lot of Brand McMorn material in the back of Savage Sword of Conan. I believe he also did a version, and then Dark Horse did another cut of it.
Yeah,
back when Dark Horse had the property.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So this is a story that's constantly being redone.
Yeah.
So this is the first time that I've seen the Europeans take, do their take on it. And I could recognize the beats. And from what JD told me, what makes this version special is because it's supposed to be accurate to the original story. It's supposed to be, And I'm flipping through it. And let's just say one of the main differences between the European version and the American versions that I'm used to is that I couldn't show you anything of this version on the air. I'm looking through it and I'm like going, I don't remember the Frost Giant's daughter doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just so trippy to see that it's like, so it's either the Europeans are just chronically horny or
it happens.
Or the original story, is a lot hornier than they can do in the United States.
Well, there was a lot of toning down done in that.
Yes, there was.
I'm sure that the story in the Sumerian is a lot closer, if not dead on accurate, because, like you said, they kind of pride themselves on taking Howard's work and doing it accurately. But the thing was, when the story was originally out, it was out in Weird Tales in Pulp magazine. It was written prose, and a lot of that is left up to the reader's imagination. You don't get the way Howard used to write and why he was so popular back when he was doing it, especially with the editors at Weird Tales. Is his descriptive nature and his ability to do action. And they were after that rough and tumble back there. That's the ideal flavor for the old pulp magazine. Also, and all of the insinuations for sex or sexual type things. It's not that the Europeans are horny all the time. It's just that they're less inhibited than the people are here in the States.
But you know what was funny? There was also like a funny thing that because of that lack of inhibition, that, and maybe also it's like the way, things are kind of like censored in the United States, that we end up, so what happened is that, so the American version of this story of the Frost Giant's daughter, it's the example that I always go to when people want to deny that Conan kind of has a rapey vibe. And this is like, it's because you haven't read this story. This story has a really, really rapey vibe. If you read the European version, though, it's a completely different dynamic. It's actually, you see a back and forth between the Frost Giant's daughter and Conan, and it's more like a mutual thing going on, which is kind of, it was just kind of weird to see that it's like, the European version is actually more
consensual.
It's not quite consensual because it's like
equally rapey.
Well, it's equally rapey. Yeah,
imagine if Serpieri got hold of it.
They would never entered the United States.
Nobody'd take that, would they?
I couldn't even show an example of that artwork.
I don't think Serpieri's books, just as an aside, are available in the UK. Is that right, Russ?
I don't know.
I don't think they're allowed in.
I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me.
That's because I think it's because your custom guys just keep stealing them off of you. Not because
it could be that. Yeah.
I think because we're a horrible bastardization between America and Europe. That's the problem.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So I thought it was very interesting to see how it's like, because of social mores in the United States, they completely changed the tone of the story. And in a way that it really didn't have to be. But there's always been this kind of weird thing in the States concerning portraying women's sexual pleasure. So it was just kind of, it was just very startling. And maybe not the conversation to start a show.
We've spoken about this before. We've spoken about this before in the way that America seems to be so against that kind of stuff, but yet they're the biggest producers of pornography in the world. So a bit of a dichotomy there.
Yeah, really, really. While at the same time, we're trying to ban it everywhere too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was pretty interesting to see the difference between the American version of that story and the European version of
the cool thing about the Sumerian books, though, and anybody that's interested, they have both of the volumes available over on Amazon under the Sumerian. They can't call it Conan because the Robert E. Howard estate has a claim on the name, so they probably don't have Conan on the cover. If they do, it's not very big. They call it the Sumerian because they're able to reprint those stories are in public domain. I think almost everything that Howard has done at this point is almost in all in public domain. There might be a few stray stories later in his life that aren't, but a lot of them Conan material is. I know all of the Solomon Kane and all of the Cull material is, and he would write one character at a time. He'd write a bunch of stories with that character and send them in, and then he'd go out and develop another character here. Or the farther along he got, the more into unknown history he wanted to get in order for him to have that freedom to be able to write. But Conan is very, very much a testosterone-laden barbarian.
Oh, it is, and it still is. Don't get me wrong. I mean, even I think it's really cool if people pick up these books just to see the difference in production style that the Europeans have against the American style. Like, there really is a different visual language that we use.
And again, it would be very interesting to see them in done up as mangas as well.
It would be
to see that difference in
because it's really, really interesting to see the different visual styles, which I think everybody should expose themselves to.
How many books? How many books?
Too.
How many books did he write?
Howard?
Wasn't he 30 when he killed himself?
He was 39, I believe.
39. Right.
Yeah.
How many books did he write?
He didn't write any solid novels. I think there's 2 actual stories that he wrote that are considered novels. Right. But a lot of the Conan books out there are collections of the short story work that he did.
Right.
Oh, and that's also what
there was a large number of short stories in that.
Is that they print the comics and then they intersperse them with the actual stories that he wrote. So you kind of get both,
and it's the original version.
Both, I think I forgot which story was from 1938 or something.
Desperate to try and get. Is it the Iron Moons? It was something I read when I was a kid in one of the Conan comics, and I just can't get hold of it. It's so difficult to get any Buscema Conan stuff.
Was that in a Savage Sword or in the regular Conan run?
I think it might have been in the Savage Sword.
Okay.
But I remember reading it. I remember reading it from start to finish, and looking at the art and being so totally enamored by it. And unfortunately, it was another one of those comics that went the way of so many that your mother throws in the bin.
Yeah. Let me know what number it was, and I'll start looking at conventions for it.
Oh, great!
See if
Thank
I can
you.
find it for you. But
especially since conventions are
because
now, so.
the name isn't familiar. I mean, the title is a very typical Conan, but
I think it's the Iron Moon.
Doesn't ring a bell.
No, I'll see if I can find some artwork from it. I have a feeling it was in like one of those reprint monthlies that Marvel UK did.
Okay.
So
then it could have been printed over here in any format.
Yeah, I'm going to have to hunt it down as to exactly where it appeared.
Oh, it's called Iron Shadows in the Moon.
That's the one. Yeah. That artwork in that, there's...
Where was that from?
Oh,
Daphne?
God.
You know?
Well, okay, I'm seeing the... Oh, okay, hold on. Conan Volume 10. Hold on.
Volume 10 of which
The
version?
novel, yeah. Let's see, hold on.
I don't think there were 10 volumes of Conan material.
Oh, this might be the novel. This might be
Okay.
the shorts. Yeah, it says here graphic novel, but it doesn't list any artists.
That could be Dark Horse then.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Not if it was Buscema though. It would be.
No,
it would definitely be.
No,
Marvel.
this is the Dark Horse version, so it might be a later remake.
It's probably a reprint.
Yeah, sorry about
that. They took a lot of that material and reprinted it. The big problem with the Dark Horse reprints, though, that I've run across, it might not hold true for the entire line. There's that the coloring on it was just atrocious, and it really detracted hard.
No, I want it in black and white.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, you'd want that in black and white just because it was Buscema.
Oh, what's funny is that story I think is in the first volume of the European version that I'm talking about.
Is it?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Iron
No, I
Shadows
know.
yeah.
Red Nails is in that. I don't remember the second one here.
I'll go see if I can find.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not. Let me see. It's like.
Are all those Buscema ones collected with Alfredo Alcala?
They did. Dark Horse did collections. What would they call it? Like essential versions of Savage Sword,
right,
where they collected 6 or 7 issues at once.
How many issues did he do, Buscema?
Oh, a lot. He was very prolific.
Because I remember when he first came along, first time I saw him in Marvel when he did the Avengers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was never really sort of enamored with his work, and I think he was inking his own at that point. But later, when he did those Savage Tales and the black and white things with Alcala, they were just absolutely superb, weren't they?
Yeah,
they really knocked me out. And I mean, we all know he draws gorgeous women and everything, but he draws gorgeous men as well, doesn't he? You know what I mean? And,
yeah.
He's was just a brilliant artist, a fantastic artist.
They did Queen of the Black Coast in #1 and Red Nails. So, which is an odd in the first Sumerian volume, which is unusual because it's 2 different points in Conan's life. That it's kind of an odd choice, but that's probably what they had or what they thought was their best foot forward for the Sumerian volume. The second one is got. I'm over at Amazon right now looking at it. The second one has the People of the Black Circle and I think the Frost Giant's daughter. The Frost Giant's daughter.
One I've got, yeah. I think I've got the book with that in the Savage. Is it Savage Tales? That I've got the book. I've got that one.
Savage Tales had some Conan stuff in it. Yeah.
That is just incredible artwork.
Yeah,
just beautiful. And he just
I really love how it's like even at a distance
that page,
that artwork pops.
Yeah,
look at that.
You know,
yeah.
It's black and white, and it's like I can still see it. You know, from here.
Well, I've the way that's done, was that a color? Is it a color?
Yeah. Alfredo Alcala.
That stuff just, I've never really drawn like that, but I do desperately want to give it a go. Something like that.
Yeah.
And it's not suitable for Only Death Can Save Us. It just doesn't work for Only Death Can Save Us.
Right, yeah.
No.
Only Death Can Save Us is quite sort of poppy and mad. But that would be my next project after Only Death Can Save Us. However long Only Death Can Save Us takes me, it may take me years. But that will be where I want to go next stylistically, I think. But I'd like to do something a bit more, a bit richer, a bit more line work.
Well, with that again, you've got two really graphic geniuses working on top of one another.
Yes.
I mean, Buscema is phenomenal, and you can sit there forever and look at look at his composition and how a lot of that at that point, especially, it becomes so instinctual that it's phenomenal to sit there and study. And Alcala on his line work and his inking work, he's somebody that color literally detracts from the quality of the artwork because he's so good.
That's the other thing I'd want to do is do a black and white only. I have a feeling it's going to be a retirement project.
One of the things that strikes me about Alcala's inking,
it's on the list.
Is the fact that he doesn't do a lot of solid blacks.
No.
Because obviously nowhere is solid black. There's always light going in there. And if you look at Kirby's original pencils, there's a lot of that going on in those, but Sinnott and everybody else would just fill it in black.
Yeah.
Well, when you're on a deadline. When you're on a deadline, a black space is a black space.
I know, but I'm talking about art.
Right.
And I'm just saying that if you look, and also I'm sure I've seen some pencils from that Buscema cone, and it's just basically layout.
Yeah.
Most of the artwork is Alcala.
Yeah.
Well, that's because he's that good of an artist.
Oh, yeah, he's fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what he did in the Philippines in the war, didn't I? I'll tell you about that. When he was a kid, Alcala, he used to, he's about 10, Japanese occupation. He used to sit on the hill and he'd draw all the soldiers and all the tanks and all the guns and all the trucks. Then he'd go and find the Americans and give them. And he not only would the Americans know where the Japs were, they'd know exactly and how many trucks they had. They'd know exactly what kind of trucks they were because he used to draw them as they were, and the tanks.
Funny.
And he'd go back, and he was 10, 11. And
look at him spying for the Americans.
And the Japanese would see him. The soldiers would see him sitting there drawing, and they just didn't do anything because they didn't realize. And he'd draw all the tanks and all the guns and all the stuff. I mean,
he was a kid, and he was staying out of their way. So
he'd be dead if they found out, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Well, let him draw. What harm could he do?
I've got limited amount of time to investigate styles, and the style that I'm drawing in at the moment is kind of like it's a speed style. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I when I get the time or if I get the opportunity for that project, that's when I'll kind of let it go and do something more textured. But it definitely, there's definitely an aspect to it that's about time, because as much as it's something I love doing, I do have to get paid for it as well.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to, you've got to balance it. And there's no way I'm going to get 32 pages of penciled, inked, coloured artwork done every 2 months.
Yeah.
if I start doing a Jim Lee on it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. No,
that's why Jim Lee has a hard time holding deadlines.
Yeah. Exactly. And I don't want that. I want to have a style that I can expand upon, and at the same time keep it that I know that I can hit deadlines with it and work with it and get the best out of it, which is why I veered towards sort of Palmer and Sinnott as this sort of graphical language, if you like, with the shortcuts and examine how that does it. But it doesn't mean that I consider that necessarily the only way to do things. There are so many there's so many options. The only thing is you only have a certain amount of time on the planet, so you kind of got to pick a couple.
Yeah,
and that's the end of it, you know.
Oh, and by the way, it's like you should know better.
List.
There's
Absolutely.
no such thing as retiring in this business. You just die at your table.
No. What I mean is if I've got a pension coming in, I don't have to worry about some deadline. Yeah. I can say, right, well, if I'm going to take 6 months over 32 pages, I'm going to bloody do it.
Right. Yeah.
I had that discussion last weekend with Scott Rosema, who happily announced on Facebook he was retiring. I said, "There's no retiring."
Yeah,
no.
It's like Tom Hanks in the lady baseball movie. There's no crying in baseball. There's no retiring in comic books. It just doesn't happen.
I try to leave, and they drag me back in.
There's no retiring in comic books. We all die at the table. It is. It's the way it is.
I just think it's kind of telling which movies we reference for that. You know, he does baseball. I do Carlito's Way, but that just might be a New York thing.
before we go on, I want to just finish this up. The Sumerian Volume 3 hardcover is going to be available December 7th of this year. And it's going to be adapting the Iron Shadows in the Moon and the Man-Eaters of Zambula.
Wow.
So, and these are phenomenal books. They're available for $25 on Amazon in hardcover.
Yeah.
They are absolutely beautiful. You won't regret buying them. Do though plan on getting a magnifying glass if you want to read the original story, because the point size on their printing the original story is so small. I literally have to use a magnifier in order to read it, but it's there. And if you're interested in Howard's work at all, especially hearing the stories, just about everything is available on YouTube and Audible readings, and professional Audible readings at that. And if you haven't, my favorite over there is a King Kull story called "By This Axe I Rule," which, just like what Daphne said, when Marvel printed it, was completely different. From the way it reads. And if you haven't, there's a couple of Bran McMorn stories also up there that are incredibly imaginatively adult. Let's put it that way. That are very interesting. When I was first listening to them, I'm like, what? Really? Really? Wow. Okay. Well, Weird Tales used to live up to their name. So, and they were not for kids.
Yeah, but the only regret that I have about those books is that they're not printed bande dessinée size. You know, I mean, we suspect that they're shrunk down, which is why the text is so small. Because it's like, you know, we're talking about. But
they're very nice hardback books for $25. You get 2 stories, and that usually ends up with close to 100 pages.
We're looking at a difference of like this. You know, I mean, that's a huge difference in size, and I wish that they would have
3.5, 4 inches smaller than what it was originally intended.
And you know, I wish that, you know, as much as it's like they're bringing these stories over from Europe. I wish that they would print them like they were originally intended.
No, I would think that's a European printer that's actually doing
but the thing is, though, it's obvious that they're catering it to an American market.
Audience,
it's the thing. It's the thing that you keep complaining about. Oh, it has to fit in the bag. You know, I mean, that's the thing.
So,
and we keep and it a lot gets lost because, like I said, it's a different visual language that's being used, and you do need the space. But definitely get those books. Very highly recommended.
Pregnant Pause brought to you by the Sunday Funnies.
Exactly.
Woohoo! Episode for the 22nd of August 2021. So
I don't think I've got enough money to buy all these volumes that I want.
No.
Well, there never is. There never is.
Especially now, because there's so many good reprint books available. You snoop through Amazon, and I try not to. Intentionally. You snoop through Amazon, and all of a sudden you've got stuff in your checkout cart. It's like,
this is one of the reasons why I've got an awful admission to make here. This is one of the only reason I don't back people's stuff on Kickstarter and stuff like that, because I want to back 50. I don't go on it a lot because I'm absolutely mind blown by the quality of some of the stuff that's on there.
Especially lately, the last couple of years has just been phenomenal.
And I said to you a few weeks ago, Randy, about how the indie people, you know, us, I suppose, are coming through in the mainstream and going down the toilet, and there's something's going to happen because there's such great stuff out there. But as I was saying, I tend not to back because I'd back them all. I want to back them all, and I can't. But I don't feel like I'm back one over another. I know that sounds like a cop-out, but it's true. I feel I want to back them all, but it's like buying the volumes. I want to buy them all. I go into Forbidden Planet. I want to buy the shop. There's such good stuff there. You know,
we're not talking the section with the Funko Pops in it.
I've only ever read one issue of Cerebus, and now it's finished. Now it's finished.
Wow.
I want to buy the volumes.
Yes,
but I don't know how much they are, but I want to buy them all. I want to buy everything. I want to buy those big Kirby things, but they're like £100 each or something, and it's just and there's 15 to get. You know, you just can't justify it.
They're expensive.
Yes, I can't.
Varian dragged me into a bookshop the last time I was down there, next to last time, called Second and Charles, which apparently is a big chain here in the States, but we don't have one this far north into Michigan. But in there, they had a book of Doctor Strange, of Ditko's Doctor Strange, and it's stuff that I've got reprinted at least a half a dozen times here already that I know of. And this was the same material, but it looked like it was reprinted actual size of the art. And we're talking at least 2 up on this. And it was huge. The book was huge. It was heavy. And it was huge. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to have to buy this book until I saw the price on it. And I'm like,
that's the worst part about those books. It's like, because it's like JD has this Werewolf by Night by Mike Plug, the giant size edition. And it's like, you just die looking at that stuff.
I know the book you're talking about because IDW's done a lot of those artist showcase books. I've always wanted to have the Simonson Manhunter one and have just never, ever been able to pick it up.
Expensive. And it's heartbreaking.
this Ditko book was bigger than that, and it was thicker than that, and it was heavier than those. And it was just beautiful. But it's the kind of book I took off the shelf and laid it very carefully down on the countertop because the countertop was glass, and I didn't want to break the countertop because the book was so heavy.
One of the last times I was in New York, I went into I think it was Barnes and Nobles or somewhere like that, and they had a complete Da Vinci book, Leonardo da Vinci.
The Teschen editions.
And it's about 6 inches. And I thought, my God. And I didn't get it. I wish I'd got it, but I knew I would have had to put it on into the hold. I couldn't have taken it on board the aircraft.
Teschen does a lot of insane public domain stuff.
This one is not quite that big, but it's quite a big book.
Big John Buscema.
Big John.
Big John.
Let me blow that up here. Give me a second. There we go. Boom. Hello.
And it's got sort of all the stuff that I loved as a kid, and more. I mean, look at that. So look at the Kirby influence in that.
Oh yeah.
Just a bit.
What a magnificent combination of Kirby, Buscema, and Sinnott there. Just gorgeous stuff. But then you see stuff like this.
Look at that.
That's so gorgeous.
Wow.
It's stuff like that's like this.
The figure drawing, figure drawing, and then you look at the very simple. So I think he might have inked this himself.
And again, that's shot right off of the original.
And exactly. That's what's great about it.
In color yet, because you can see the fading tape along the top
and
the registration mark.
I love that.
The way John Buscema inks is so callous. he just splashes his ink all over his his own pencils. He don't care. He don't care. But then you see other people inking him, and it's just different. But it's just. I love the carefree nature of the way that he inks.
And again, Buscema's on a deadline here, so he's inking. He's inking for speed. He's not inking for quality.
Look at that.
Just gorgeous.
Yeah, look at the line work on that cover. That's beautiful. The cross hatching work. Yeah.
Look at that rubber cement eating through the paper.
Yeah.
And then he did some stuff on this as well.
Oh yeah. Tree.
I think that was the he did like the graphic novel representation of the film.
Yeah.
With Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. But I've got a couple of those books to different people. And I got Who Watches the Watchman. That's quite good as well because that's got like larger versions, all in black and white.
Yeah,
of the pages, and that's lovely book.
Yeah.
So and it really gives you because you see the original artwork, you don't see it scanned in, and retouched and then coloured and everything. You actually get to see what they were doing on that board. Yeah. And it actually made me change the way that I produce my work. Simply by investigating how people who really know what they're doing do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fabulous, isn't it? That Watchman book is a great book. It's got all these layouts and pre illustrations and all sorts of stuff.
Yes. Yep. It is really amazing. Over in the chat, Marv's in the house, Bristolian Dave, Boob Dan Art. Hello, Boob Dan. Hope you're doing well. Boob Dan. Hello, friends. Most excellent day to you all. Thank you.
Gnarly, dude.
Marvy has a question. Are the Arrow comics being sold in stores as we speak, or are they shipped? Well, yes and no. Thanks for
We have
asking.
all the answers.
Have a nice day. Yes. Varian still has yet to put them up on the site to make them available to the retailers, but there's a reason for that because, and it's a long story, one that if you keep watching Indie Volt, when we are able to tell you, we will definitely be taking an episode, at least one, and telling you the entire story. You think that we did this special issues episode where we were talking about Terraform Comics. If you thought that episode was strange, wait till you see the one we do about what we're doing now, because it's been an amazing and humorous and sometimes aggravating and frustrating comedy of errors and happy accidents and happy circumstances that aren't settled yet. So
and exploding Zambonis.
But
we were supposed to have big news at the end of July. We were supposed to have big news at the start of August. We were supposed to have big news by the middle of August, and we're not sure when we can do the big news other than tell you that it's big news.
Right. Actually, it turned into big news. So
it's turned into big news.
Yeah,
but it's not. But it is really there. It's real big news. It's just that we can't tell you yet. But it's incredibly exciting.
You know, it's
like I said, it's
Under
frustrating.
NDA. That's all we can say.
Yeah, everything's under an NDA, and everything's crazier than last week. It's been constantly building up, and now is the time to note a programming note. There will not be a Breakfast Buzz next Thursday or a Sunday Funnies next Sunday because of that big news. We're going off on a business trip that we will not be able to broadcast from on Thursday morning or Sunday morning. So sorry to say that unless we pre-record something, which it doesn't look like is going to happen at this point, there will not be a Breakfast Buzz on Thursday or a Sunday Funnies next Sunday. That doesn't mean we're going away. It just means we've gone away and we're a little busy this next weekend. We'll be back the following Sunday with another program. Yeah. And hopefully by then we will have some definite news or not. And I don't know. We're not sure yet. That big news that we were supposed to be able to tell you at the end of July might get pushed to the middle of October or to the end of November.
The weirdest thing we're going through right now. So never seen anything like it.
Yeah. Never have. In all of our long time of printing comics and funny books, this hasn't happened quite like this. But
it's all good.
Yep. It is. It's all good.
It's all good.
Bristolian says, "All right, me blabbers. Good morning, Dave. Hope you're doing well."
All right.
Thanks for saying hi on the on the Rabbi's podcast yesterday. I survived another episode. So.
Oh, you're on there twice?
Yeah.
He hasn't even had me on once. Yeah. I'm just not that important. Oh boy, can't make it. No
he probably hasn't taken a breath yet.
That could be.
We were talking about Substack yesterday.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Marvelous. Yeah. That's a whole nother story. Probably best saved for a live wire or a Breakfast Buzz.
Yeah.
Anyway, good luck. Anyway.
Well, I feel left out because I'm the only one on the panel here who doesn't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Because this show has been wandering all over the place, I can tell you. There's a platform out there very much like Patreon called Substack that is going around now spreading out hard money. Or no, I can't even say hard money, good money to creators. And they have successfully gone through and capped like the top 4 writers that are currently working in mainstream. And they said, hey, we're going to give you a budget. We need 8 products from you. Boom. Yeah. And they're like going, and these guys are all used to working for ramen wages, literally. They're like going, you're going to pay me how much? Holy crap. And you're going to cover, and they're going to cover
1 year worth of work.
Mid set, high 6 figures. To do a year or two's worth of work that they have to perform and do, that's their budget, and whatever is left over, it's probably theirs. So they're like going, we're going to make some books. So yeah, they're all excited over it, and Marvel and DC at the moment are currently scrambling and wondering where their talent has gone. And
they went and got paid. It's
Yeah.
that easy.
there's actually a chance for some of these guys to make a living wage
Yeah, really.
for as long as that lasts. So
You know, it's like
Yeah.
they're the high end equivalent of the people going, I don't understand it. It's like, you know, no one's working for $7.50 an hour.
yeah,
It's like, yeah.
and
They're all
instead of
leaving to go to the $15 an hour place. I don't get it.
and instead of walking in and actually doing a little bit of research and going after the best that they can find, they just went out and took the top 4 that's in the mainstream at the moment.
Right.
I was about to say it's like I think it's a watch this space situation.
It is.
Yeah,
It
but
is.
there's
Because
but you have people
if
Go
their
ahead.
content isn't that great, they're not going to keep that gig.
just a second. Yes.
Well, and also the thing is too, because you got to consider is that they're using this talent to bring in all of the people like us onto the
Oh, yeah.
platform.
Yeah.
Because in the end, they're not going to be really making money off of these 4 people. They're going to be making money off of us signing up, thinking that we're
Yeah.
going to be making 6 figures on this platform.
That's
not how
exactly it.
works.
It's another
That's
patron.
not how it works. It's kind of like it's a combination of Patreon and MailChimp, where it's like you have a free newsletter, like you can import your mailing list into Substack so that you can run newsletters through it. So you have your free newsletters. And then the idea is to hopefully that your a percentage of your newsletter subscriptions will convert to your subscription version, which is, I guess, is where you keep your premium content. So the way this is supposed to work is that people have their free, you read the free newsletter, maybe you'll get free previews of the premium content you have to pay like $5 or $8 a month to have access to. So
they're effectively looking at Shonen Jump, which is obviously a lot cheaper.
yeah,
But the model being
Right.
that you can pay $7 a month or whatever it is, and you'll get all of this guy's
right.
comic books. So
Yeah.
this guy the only way that's going to happen is with some capital. So they've
Right.
effectively seeded by going out and getting the 4 top selling writers
Yeah.
or whatever it is. They've seeded this process by saying, well,
Mhm.
we've got some venture capital money.
Yeah,
Let's give
exactly.
like $250,000 of this to this guy and
Uh-huh.
$250,000 to that guy, and see how many people we can get to subscribe to their
Right.
channels.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And whilst that all is going on, everybody else will clamor to come
Yeah.
to Substack and be part of the party.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
That's you see, and that's kind of the question, because even the other artists that I was on the show with yesterday, which is a very interesting and educational show. So if you catch, if you really want to hear our conversation about that, an actual serious conversation about it, check out Rabbi from Another Planet from yesterday. From yesterday.
We try not to be nearly that serious here.
Well, yeah.
Though
I
I'd
mean,
love
I
to have Rabbi on this show to talk about
it's like,
the comics that he loves, because it's obvious he's got that sparkle.
right. Oh yeah.
Whenever he
definitely.
does that show about how much he loves this art form.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's like, so the thing is though, is that, so the other artists were also kind of not impressed by it. It's like you said, it's kind of a wait and see type of thing. It's like, I don't trust these venture capitalist type of companies, because it's easy to spend other people's money to try to build yourself up, but in the end you still have to have something worth it for everybody.
Exactly.
And yeah,
Yes.
And the bottom line is,
yes.
however good these
right.
people may have been
Uh-huh.
for comics in their particular areas, and I know that the mainstream don't particularly market their comics particularly well.
Right.
I understand that, so it's difficult to judge directly, but it's not like they're selling millions.
Right. Yeah.
So where is this going to go for them?
Right.
Are they going to
exactly.
put some comics up and maybe sell 500, 600? Maybe they'll get 1,000, 10,000
Right. You
people.
see, and in the
But that's
end,
still
right.
nowhere near
Yeah.
as many comics as they were selling through the mainstream when the mainstream isn't doing that well at the moment.
Right, and they're all
it's a fascinating experiment to look at, though.
It is.
Because you've got these guys that are supposed to be talented, and I'm using air quotes here on them, that are observed as talented in a mainstream that's constantly shrinking, no matter what they want to tell you what the numbers are. Those numbers are artificial due to other circumstances.
Right, yeah.
Having to leave the anchors of the IPs that they're writing, he said in air quotes again, going over to a platform where they have to do original content.
Yeah.
That's digital.
Yeah.
To start with, which is a market that has been stagnant for the last 5 to 6 years, except for because of the bug, they might have seen a small bump, but nobody's talking about those numbers, especially Comicology, because you would think that if Comicology was selling the way comics have picked up since the bug, that they'd be out there waving that flag going, hey, we're viable. Look at us. We're big. We're going to be big. Yeah. You don't see that. Instead, you see Substack coming in going, hey, you guys can come over here and make digital comics and we'll pay you a living wage and cover your health expenses. Hey, come on. So they're all like going, you kidding? We're right there with you, buddy.
For a year, though. So the question is what happens after that contract is up? You know, when it's like, okay, now Substack is saying now you have to live off of the subscribers that you were supposed to have converted this entire time. And look instead of the guaranteed salary we just gave you.
And look at all the mainstream crabs out there that are talking down the platform because they weren't invited to the party.
Exactly.
They're all mad and that's a right wing platform that talks about
I have an entire
blah. Just insanity.
Yeah, I have an entire theory on that based on two university studies. But the thing is, it's not the type of thing for this show.
Not the type of thing for a fun break.
So much of this comes down to fear and jealousy.
Yeah.
And the only way to beat any of it is just to get on and make good stuff.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know, those guys, whatever they're doing over at Substack, if they produce great stuff, it will work for them.
Right.
Yeah. But if they don't, if it's just average, then it won't.
Right.
And then it'll feel, and Substack won't get any benefit from it either.
Yeah.
So, you know,
there's not a single property over there that they have announced that has caught my interest other than to go,
right. Well, to tell you the truth,
all you got to do is walk through a convention and see somebody doing an alternative comic pretty much exactly like that.
Right. I mean, because it's like the things that I kind of turns me off to it as well is the fact that right out the gate, they themselves are already kind of like have restrictions on content that they're putting at the feet of their payment processors. And it's like, and that's usually, I mean, everyone talks about slippery slopes, and that's usually where it starts. So it's like, because I emailed them directly about that because they specifically have like a no pornography in their terms of service. And I asked them to clarify that. It's like, well, what do you mean by that? It's like, are you talking about photos? Are you talking about models? Are you talking about drawings and this, that, and the other thing? And they gave me this kind of pussyfooty answer where it's like, well, we understand artistic nudity, but we have to judge everything on a case-by-case basis. And I go,
if you're not on the list, you ain't coming in.
Yeah. There's a obvious dodge. That's what that is.
Yeah.
It's
pornography. Like we don't want to define it for you. We just know it when we see it.
Right.
We'll accept pornography from people we like. It's the same old.
Well, you see, exactly. It's like it's the reason why I see people with outright porn on Patreon, and it's like I show a goddamn butt cheek, and I'm banned for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, all right, whatever.
We're sorry, chat. Folks in the chat, if we've been ignoring you, we don't mean to. Joe's in the house. Good morning, Joe. Hope you're doing well. Desk from a small press publisher. Oh, and thank you very much for sending us $1.
Oh, there's a super chat.
Deeply appreciate that, Joe. I'm sure Varian thanks you. Next time, send us a message and we'll read it in a cartoon voice, especially on this program.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like, You missed out. You missed it.
Sarah asks if any of the comics she sent me caught my eye. There were a couple of them there. Sarah bombarded me this morning in the chat with, or not in the chat, in a PM with all of the new comic book day or free comic book day findings that she had. There were a couple things there that were interesting. There were a couple things there I was like going, why are you sending me so many covers?
Right.
But yeah, there's some great stuff there. You can always pick up a stack of comics, and you're always going to find one or two real interesting books. So.
There was something that kind of popped out at me with the whole free comic book day thing, which is kind of like friggin' misleading in terms of how the industry is actually, because it's like free comic book day seems to be the only time that comic book companies actually acknowledge that kids might read their shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's the only time that and it's like, it's kind of like, and this year was kind of like a little weird. It's kind of like it was either all kids stuff or these weird horror books. It's like, it was kind of like, really? It's like this is not what, when you go into your average comic book store that you see, like, this is not, Free Comic Books Day is so not representative of what we see all the time in this industry. And it's like, I was just wondering if it was just me noticing that, or
I think the American comic book market, especially the secondary publishers, have always had a bad problem when it comes to their perception of what's saleable, because the majority of that stuff is dark. And by dark, I don't mean well-written dark, just shadowy edgy, horror edgy stuff. Not even edgy. On a lot of that stuff, very rarely is there a really good horror comic out there anymore, which is very frustrating to me. But you have these companies out there that think, well, if I do horror is really cheap to film, so I'll do a horror book hoping I get that Netflix deal or whatever. And that's a big problem right now out there in the market. And that, with the Substack stuff, to go back to that, there was a lot of that dark. This will be easy to film with an esoteric title type of property that I saw being offered or pitched, like Swamped or In the Dark or Broke Down and 4 Dead Bodies, that kind of material. That there's only so much. Tarantino has a reputation he does not because of the work that he does, but for the quality of work. These and everybody who try that kind of stuff come off to me as somebody trying to be a Tarantino or trying to be the next Saw or trying to be the next really bad horror movie. And you see a lot of too much of that in comics, instead of actually coming forth and doing imaginative, even whimsical stuff,
But I think the comic
and marketable IPs. That's the next thing.
The American comic book industry is, and to some degree, the British one has been schizophrenic for some time.
That's the word.
Are these books for kids or aren't they?
Yeah.
If they are, and you want to market to kids and the next generation, then why the hell are you putting the kind of content you are in them? Because they're not all ages books anymore, are they? They're adult books.
Yeah.
So it also makes it difficult for quality to rise to the top because there's so much mud. Like, for example, What Happened to the Children, I understand is an amazing work. I've never read it, but I've heard nothing but great things about it. But it's in the middle of a mire of all of these other horror or bad crime titles, and it has a very difficult time rising up and being seen. And there needs to be a lot more of a imaginative variety out there, especially in comics, because you're working with an unlimited budget. The budget's only limited by your imagination.
I mean, unfortunately, though, like every other piece of media, it's like you have the one innovator and then you have like 100 wannabes following behind, turning it into a trite trend.
But you'll always have that.
Yeah.
You always get that.
Nothing you can do about it.
That's just people chasing money.
Yeah.
Or what they perceive as money, always following the tails and not trying the coattails of other people and not trying to do anything original.
Yeah.
Just follow the safe road.
John Celestri says, what original IPs are these 4 top writers bringing to Substack? That's a
so
big
far
question.
I've only seen one, and it's just like, okay, he's doing a war comic, and it's like, okay.
Is that the World War I war comic? Because
I don't know.
that one caught my eye.
What was his name? It was Solomon something. I forgot his name. He was doing a book about terrorists, and it's like, okay, whatever. I was just I was like, and mind you, these are the examples that Substack is giving you, trying to convince you that this is a viable platform. And it's like, and I was so unimpressed by the comic book stuff, and I was even more unimpressed by their more like, I guess, their standard, because it's like Substack started off as a thing for journalists.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, though, even that stuff that they were kind of like showcasing, it's like, oh, look at these examples. And it's like, your mom's Facebook at $8 a month. I mean, that's what they come off as. So it's like, I'm like, what is like I really don't get it. I mean, it's like, look, I'm not saying not to try it. I did sign up for an account. I'm still poking around with it. It's like I'm still kind of trying to figure out like what exactly this is for, like, or how I could utilize it. I mean, I'm not writing it off. All I'm saying is that, sign up for an account, experiment with it, poke around. Maybe you can figure out some, a way for it to really benefit you and your work. Mm-hmm. It's just that what I'm seeing so far, I'm personally not impressed by. And I've been burned by enough other platforms to be very cynical about this one. Regardless. Yeah. I mean, it's like, people are getting excited. I think people are getting a little too excited for this platform for the wrong reasons. And it's like, in the end, it has to boil down to, can you make this work for you?
Yeah. I think a lot of people are saying that you've got two schools of thought. Well, you've got a school of thought of, oh my God, I can get away from Twitter. And the mob. And that's why the mob is pointing the finger at Substack, just because actually it allows people some freedom of speech. Yeah. And then on top, comparatively.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've got people that think they're in the comics industry.
Yeah.
That now think, wow, that's going to be a way for me to make money. Okay, and which is pretty much like what Glenn was saying. It's just people looking to turn a buck.
Yeah.
It's not going to do either of those things.
Right.
It really isn't.
Right.
I mean, from my perspective, I've written my own book, and I draw my own book. I don't have time for Substack.
Mm-hmm. Which is a whole other part of the conversation.
I don't have time to write newsletters. I write the occasional email to people on my list, but I barely have time for that.
If Substack were to come to me and say, "Hey, I've got $250,000 that you can take if you produce 8 titles," I'm like, "Okay,
yeah, you can't.
I got people I can call. Come on.
You can't complain about those guys that are taking it. I'd have taken it as
absolutely
well.
Not.
No, you take it because it actually, that kind of money gives you the time to do that.
I don't blame them at all.
No,
remotely.
Not at all. No.
For taking that money, but it is going to be an interesting experiment because these guys, in my opinion, are like Wile E. Coyote running off of that cliff.
Yeah.
They're so sure they're going to catch that bird, and then until they look down.
Right.
Because they're.
I think you're right.
Because here they go, trying to create original properties without the IP anchor that they have from the big corporations, without variant covers, without glitchy marketing to a constrained retail audience that's constantly told, oh, you have to buy 25 in order to get the one of this, and with all of the artificial numbers. It's going to be very interesting to see how this runs through.
Well, actually, what I've read, that all of them are pretty much.
I don't mean to sound doom and gloom at all, because I wish them the very best, because any new opportunity out there is stretching that art form that I love, and I want to see it happen. I want to see it successful.
Yeah.
But I honestly don't think it's going to be in that direction.
Right. Well, you see, the thing is, though, too, is that even they're saying that they're not using this to leave the industry.
No,
they're
just
just
not.
using it. Yeah, they're taking advantage of it for the year, and then they're going to take all that content, and they already have contracts with Dark Horse and IDW and whatnot to kickstart the actual book. They do.
Do they really? What
They
happens
really do.
after the year and they come back and the editors that they left go, oh yeah, I remember what you did.
Right. No, and they're going to get
or
hired
even
back,
worse,
you know.
they come back and the editor they used to deal with was 2 editors ago, which happens all the time in this industry.
You know.
Yeah, that does happen.
Who's behind this Substack? Who are the people behind it? Is it?
I'm not sure. It's some
5
large
years.
corporation.
Yeah, it's like they've been around for 5 years. Like I said, this originally started as a thing for journalists when everybody was pivoting to video.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like I said, it's like if you can make it work for you, that's great. Just remember that it's like if you think it's like the 6-figure contracts is not going to be you. You know, it's like just you know just to be straight up honest here. It's like, you know, these guys are being they're being artificially inflated pretty much to support this.
Well,
if they weren't working on them books, if they weren't working on X-Men, Spider-Man, Batman, and whatever that 4th title was, they would not have had that offer happen to them.
Right, exactly.
Because these guys did not do the research in the market to go after the best writers. They went after the writers on the best books.
Right. You know, so it's like, so these guys are going to learn the hard way what it's actually like to be an independent creator. And
someone in the chat mentioned that, oh no, now the mainstream's going to take a level down because these guys are leaving. And to whoever wrote that, and I don't have it right in front of me, but no, I don't think you're going to see much of a difference in the quality of them books because the majority of them books are already written by committee. So I don't think you're going to see a large drop in quality because the quality is already pretty close
your
to
gray
bottom
slop
on a lot of these titles already. Yeah. You're still going to get the pink slop to eat. Yeah.
Exactly.
I wonder if we'll wake up one day and realize that, like I was saying earlier about the talent out there, that it is there. Go and find it and get some great books out rather than just churning out the same old thing over and over again.
Well, there's that classic quote that Dan Didio did back when he was still head at DC, saying that there's no longer any good talent out there. That it just doesn't exist. The talent isn't there. And everybody here in the alternative and independent market were belly rolling and pointing at him going, yeah, okay, you never talk to me, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, but that's always been the problem, that it's like, you know, whenever people talk about comics, what they really mean is Marvel and DC.
Yep.
They never, I mean, it's like every conversation about comics, when they talk about anything, you know, it's like, oh, diversity and this, that, and the other thing and quality and whatnot. It's like, all you had to do was turn around and look at the rest of the artist alley.
Open your eyes.
And this has been for decades.
Yes.
What you're looking for has always existed. The only problem is that it doesn't count until Marvel and DC do it.
Yep.
But
or
the thing is,
it didn't count back then.
Right, that they don't consider it counting. And even then, when Marvel and DC are doing it, it's because they're turning the superficial aspects of your personality and identity into a marketable product. And it only counts until they wring the last dime out of you. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to move on to the next thing. They don't care about you. These are corporations. The media that you are desperate for is in the independent market. And yes, you have to look for it. You have to make that effort.
We just saw what Daphne was talking about last week. If we were watching the comic news at all, with the big exciting news about Tim Drake's sexual preference, and everybody getting a little bit of distance. Right. And now the new Superman. Hey, guess what? New Superman's going to have that same. He's going to be gay too. Come on, he's going to be gay. He's going to be gay.
He's hot.
Like,
you know.
Meanwhile,
exactly.
That's what it is. So
titles. You can pick up hundreds of manga titles that actually deal with these topics in an actual storytelling
quality
manner,
and entertaining way,
right? Yeah. And not like because DC thought that it's like they could take 7 years, to have one character say one line with the personality of a plank of wood, and think that everybody is going to fall over backwards for them. And not for nothing too, way too many people really do give these corporations way too much credit for not even doing the bare minimum, and they get away with this shit, and this is why you're getting the crap that you're getting.
I'm ringing the bell a lot today.
There's a Daphne rant.
I'm going to say
Yeah,
Daphne
no,
rant.
for
Is
real.
that the one again?
Hey, folks, welcome
Look,
to Sunday
weeks. I'm
Funnies.
making up for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of being away.
Making up for 2 weeks. Yeah.
The Daphne cackle and the Daphne rant.
Exactly.
Double whammy.
You get everything.
Critical Blast says, I know it's apples and bicycles, but Substack just gives me a cross-gen deja
Yes.
vu. And Critical, I have to tell you, there was
Thank
a while
you.
there that cross-gen looked really, really good and read pretty well,
Oh.
and they were starting to attract some what was recognized as top-notch talent.
Right.
And then, boom, they were done.
Until his investment money blew up.
Yep.
And then
Actually
all
blew
of a
out.
sudden- blew out, whatever.
Blew out.
And then poof,
Yep.
that was over with. This is exactly, because in the end, the company was not sustainable on its own. It could only have survived with that investment money.
And like with
So,
Malibu, cross-gen got eaten up by a big fish, Disney. And where are all those properties now?
Right, exactly.
Where's the Meridian movie that should have been out decades
they're all
ago?
bought up to get
Yeah.
buried,
Yeah.
purposefully buried.
Yep.
So it's like,
Stuffed down
that's
into a
very
pipe.
good, very good comparison. Very good comparison.
Well, if Disney knock on my door, they can have all my stuff. I'll sell out.
I'd sell some stuff to them. I'm not saying I wouldn't. Everybody needs to make that money.
You can sell out and make something else.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what happens when you are creative.
Plenty
Is
of
that you can
ideas.
sell out and then make something else happen.
Oh, there's
That's the
some
point.
there's some stuff that I'd be really happy to sell all the rights to, and other stuff that I wouldn't.
Or I think Eastman and Laird did the best version of it, where they sold the turtles, but they sold a variation of the turtles.
Yeah.
So they still kept the turtles, but it was so Nickelodeon has their own variation, or this other company has their own, and they have their own variation. So they still are working on their stuff. It's just that this is our version.
Yep.
That we're doing. I
Super
actually
canny.
like that one. That one was damn clever.
And Archie, if you're interested in doing a Hero Bots series, just let me know. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you. What?
Arrow's hiring.
Who's hiring?
Arrow's hiring.
Arrow's hiring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Arrow might really be hiring. But anyway, never mind. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah, give us a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
to
give us
see
a
what
couple of
happens.
weeks.
Get this shit all together.
It's all leaking out now.
It's too late. Jake Twister says the press has been paid to tell those kinds of news by the IP owners.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's all just, it's like it's like when they call themselves journalists, it's laughable. All they're doing is just reprinting press releases.
Well, that's the media in general. Anymore.
So it's like,
Repeaters.
yeah.
Joe says, question, how and when can people learn that there are many IPs that need to be mainstream, and it will take themselves to make these IPs that way?
I guess the fact that everyone's waiting for Marvel and DC to crown them the next, the next prince.
Yeah.
When
Answer
it's like, you could do that yourself.
I guess when they understand what makes something mainstream. Yeah. Well, like I keep saying, I don't think the mainstream's mainstream anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think these corporations have abandoned the thought of actually doing print books. I mean, the big guys, AT&T or Discovery Channel or whoever it has DC right now, and Disney. I think that they see printing physical comics as something that's trivial to them in the long run as far as making money.
I mean, I always remember this thing that a friend of mine, master Disney artist Kevin John, he actually works for Disney. No, he really does.
He's not a Disney artist. He's an Imagineer.
No, he's not. Actually, no, he's not an Imagineer.
No, he's not an Imagineer.
He's hired. He does fine art for Disney.
Oh, okay.
And but he used to. But the thing is, though, he created his own brand, and I was asking him about this. So how did you, get that Disney contract? And he's now working for Lucasfilm now, and the whole thing.
Still Disney.
And he says, it's all still Disney. And he was saying, it's like, you see, what you have to do is that you have to prove to these companies that if you can make money for yourself, you can make money for them.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's the thing, because the way I look at it is like, if I can make money myself, be my own brand, you know, and whatnot, and be successful on my own, then in the end, working for Disney just becomes an option, not an absolute.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, because it's like all Disney is doing is looking at you going, oh, well, you know, you're selling, you know, it's like, because his whole thing before he went to Disney was he did sports paintings of prominent like football players and baseball players and all that. So it's like, you know, he's highly collectible in the sports market. And, you know, and that's where he made his money. And Disney was looking at him. It's like, well, if that's how much money he's making for himself, how much money can he make for us? So in the end, it's like Disney didn't crown him anything. They didn't give him anything. They just became another opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
With Disney, without Disney, without Lucasfilm, he's still Kevin John, master artist, sell, you know, it's like on the sports collectible market. You know, it's like he's still his thing.
And it depends on how much more he's going to get as well, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So all this did was just expand his reach, but he wasn't. But it's like Disney is not a kingmaker.
No.
That's what it is. Marvel is not a kingmaker. DC is not a kingmaker. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem. Is that it's that perception that they are.
Yeah.
You've got a whole bunch of young creators
Mm-hmm.
who running into the business thinking, I've
Right.
got to be in that position,
Right. Yeah.
instead of believing in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We want to say hello to Rival Turtle, Chris. I'm sorry I didn't get your comment over here on the main feed fast enough. We hope you're doing all right. Same thing with Ragin. Ragin, hello, good morning. She's been talking over on the other, over on my Facebook, and I didn't make that public until just recently. Happy that you're listening. We want to remind everybody you're listening to an episode of Sunday Funnies for the 22nd of August, 2021. We want to welcome our radio listeners all over the globe and tell you that you are very much appreciated. Anybody out there listening that has not subscribed over at the YouTube channel, please go over there and subscribe. We are officially monetized as of Tuesday. The Indie Volt Network is officially monetized, which means you might get, if you're watching this video as an archive, you might get a commercial or two that's up there. Rest assured that Indie Volt is getting a little bit of money for you having to deal with that inconvenience. And also, we are now available for super chats. So please go over there and tip us often. It's all of the money that we get from the super chats all go towards the broadband and the expenses to keep the studio running, to ease Varian's financial burden on running Indie Volt. And we deeply appreciate each and every one of you out there. Hey, anybody read any good funny books lately? Let's go back to that topic.
I got my last 4 books. How's that?
Ha!
Last 4 books I got were...
Hang on, I got to blow you up here. There we go. Boom.
Sovereign Wolf. This is an independent book.
Oh, yeah. That's, yeah.
Got to hold that close to the camera.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll put it on this camera.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, there you go.
Sovereign Wolf, absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, look at
Beautiful
that.
artwork.
Some good coloring there.
Yeah, some nice stuff going on in there.
I mean,
That's
people are
really
complaining
cool.
that werewolves are just another trend. It's like, well, you know, I welcome our werewolf overlords.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
just
it's like, you know, I'm tired of zombies.
Yeah. Yeah. I picked
Me
up
too.
Compendium Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Mm-hmm.
This was actually part of some reference material. I wanted to look and see how they'd done it because of the work that I'm doing with Joe Fulton and Outliers, which is a superhero book, and it's very much a sort of a Bronze Age kind of ensemble.
Phenomenally beautiful George Perez work.
Yeah, I mean, just a master at work.
Yep,
a master at work of storytelling as well. It's not just his artwork. This is for everyone out there, kids.
Yeah.
If you're gonna draw comics, It's not just about the prettiest picture.
Yep.
It's about telling stories.
Oh,
Yeah, because I was about to say that it's really interesting to see that panel flow and realize that it's because they're telling a story and not because it's like they're moving from one pinup to another.
Exactly.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
And here you have The Tomb of Dracula.
The
This
complete
is,
collection, volume 1.
This is volume 4 I got
Volume
because
4.
I wanted some of the artwork in it. And
Gene Colan and Tom Palmer.
yeah, just some fantastic stuff in it. And there's some
Probably
color stuff.
knocking
as well,
it out of the
unfortunately.
park. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, beautiful. Look at that. Let's see if I can find it again. I mean, here, look at that. That's a classic.
Yeah.
A classic look. That is.
Yeah.
Big
look at that
open
facial-
chest. Look at my pecs.
Actually,
That's to
you know what
avoid the
really
female
stood out?
gaze.
What really stood out for me though was on the next page is his smile.
Yeah.
If you go back to it, it's like that
Oh, I've got to find it
facial
now.
expression. Yeah, well, if you find the chest, you'll find the smile.
There it is.
Right there it is.
Yeah, look at that.
Look at that
that.
face.
Yeah.
That smile. It's such a genuine looking piece of artwork. I mean,
And look
it's
at
like,
the simplicity of the line
Yeah.
work.
Yes.
you know, I mean, it's
Or
like
or should I
it's
say
yeah.
the economy of line, which is what I go
Yeah.
on about all the time.
You know,
That's
so if you want to talk
Palmer
about
and a good
so
brush,
there you go.
yeah.
If you want to talk about the female gaze, it's like he made me laugh.
Yeah.
You know, it's like-
Yeah. Oh, and there's like an early there's Blade in here as well. I think it's
Very early Blade. Yeah.
Yeah, like I remember I actually remember that story from when I was a kid.
Black exploitation Blade. Yes.
Yeah, so just brilliant stuff. And the last one I picked up, which is a personal favorite. This is
Warlock.
yeah. Some of this is in Only Death Can Save Us. There's no doubt about it.
Okay.
There's some genetic connections, no doubt.
The
And
great
this
Jim
is a
Starlin. Yes.
beautiful book, wonderful stuff. I remember getting this in a floppy form. Adam Warlock.
wow,
yeah.
you can really, I can really see the connection
And
between. Yeah,
I remember looking at this particular image for ages. Where is it? This image for ages.
yeah.
I can even remember it was the first Christmas that I got clothes, and I was very disappointed because I wanted toys. And Queen were on the radio, and I got this book. There you go. I remember it's just,
Right.
and I've loved it ever since.
The
Loved
only
it ever
only
since.
difference though is that you would do that. You know, you would take that panel and add 37 more people in it. So
Oh yeah. Okay.
Well, talk about two people that love the art form. Perez and Starlin, both.
Yeah.
They just jam
Yeah.
things. You really rarely ever see a book by either one of them where they just phoned it in.
Oh no.
no,
Never.
no,
Perez,
yeah,
if Perez
no.
took that panel, he wouldn't add 37 people. He'd add 37 panels.
Yeah, yeah.
And they'd
With
all work.
37
And
people
everyone
all
would
in the
have
background.
curly hair in it.
Yeah, and they'd all work as well. That's the thing that stood out to me in the Crisis series was the amount of panels in the. I mean, it was a fantastic, an incredible story to take on.
Yeah. And there were a lot of panels. I mean,
With
look
all
at
the panels.
look at that.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
anybody but Perez could have done that, especially
I'd
at
love
that
to know-
point in
I'd love
time.
to know-
Nowadays, you'd never see that. It'd be stretched out and
Yeah, I'd
just a
love to
big
see
mess.
how many pages he can get through he can draw in a day.
I understand he used to do 5 curled up on the couch.
Yeah.
5 pencils.
5 pages pencil.
Yeah, and it's
Wow.
I mean it's good stuff.
Yeah, obviously he doesn't work that fast anymore. He's one of the few artists that has actually retired.
Uh-huh.
But the reason for that is because of his health and his eyesight.
Right. Yeah.
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 Shot. So,
I think I could make if I had an inker that I could trust,
Mhm.
as in someone who was as someone who could draw anatomy, someone who could draw their own pages, but chose to ink instead.
Yeah, that really is like a big
yeah.
distinction,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah,
there? Yeah.
I would be happy to draw 3 or 4 pages a day, and have an inker then do their thing over the top of it, because I would know that I could do shortcuts and I could simply focus on the pace, the anatomy, the scenery, and without putting in all the detail, without putting in the texture, should I say, rather than
Right.
detail, without putting in the texture, and let somebody else who knew what they were doing Do you know what I mean? To just finish that off.
That's what John Buscema did with Alcala.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just
Exactly.
gave him layouts
Yeah.
basically, and he just gave us that beautiful
Yeah.
thinking on top of it.
Well, that's Alcala was such a completist, you know, and with his line work
amazing.
and that
Did he use a brush
all
or a pen?
Buscema really needed to do was layouts.
Did he use a brush or a pen or both, Alcala? Do you know?
I would imagine he was using a lot of that. He was using a brush on, just because of how tender it looks.
Yes, it's brilliant, great.
But I
artist.
could be wrong. I don't know exactly what materials he would use. A lot of these artists find a particular tool that they love because they can literally make it do whatever they need to have it, do.
What size were the original pages? Do we know?
They're probably 10 by 15
just regular
inches.
size.
Yeah,
pages.
regular size. Yeah, I would imagine they would be. They might be a little wider because of the magazine market.
That's a
Was
hell
a
of a
little
lot
wider.
of work in that
Incredible.
space, isn't it? Incredible. How do you do that?
Well, I showed you a couple of weeks ago the Land of Oz book that Alcala did. That was just amazing, and a lot of that he did himself. I mean, he pulled all that up off of John R. Neal's influence. He tried to hit certain points, that illustrations that he had done in the actual book, but for the most part, he was keeping to that style just consistently all the way through the book. It's an amazing book, one that Marvel should have always keep in print and never do. So never does.
That's the thing I never understand. It's like you have the back catalog.
Mhm.
Like, what's the big deal?
No respect for their history.
Well,
You
you
know?
know
You
the
don't even
Avengers.
need to- it's like we're not even asking for prestige formats. I'd
No.
be more than happy to get like the Essentials line back again.
Love
And
that.
right now they could go digest size through the dollar stores if they wanted in black and white, because they've got all that material cut down to size from the British market back when they were printing Titan. All of that stuff could be reprinted here inexpensively on newsprint, $1 a hit, maybe $2 a hit. They won't do it because they don't see the profitability in it anymore of producing work.
It's
like
exactly like who's over at Silverline?
Roland Mann.
Roland. That's it. Roland was saying about getting projects greenlit at Malibu. It's like there it was like, will it make money? Yeah, okay, let's green light it.
Right.
But someone like Marvel, especially with being bought by Disney, will be like, well, how much money will it make?
Yeah,
if it doesn't make volumes of cash, then we're not interested. It doesn't matter that it makes some money; it's got to make this much money.
See, that's the shortfall of short-term thinking, though. Because the people that you want to catch now, because comics always thrive during bad economies, the people you want to catch now is the kid that's in the dollar store with the mom, and they see a book, an inexpensive book sitting on the shelf for $1 that's got 32 pages of black and white Iron Man or Avenger story in it. Yeah. And mom, can I have this? Oh, why not? It's just $1. I can spare $1.
Unfortunately,
if the kid's quiet for 15 minutes, I can spare $1, and she buys the book.
Unfortunately, according to their last shareholders meeting, I mean, Disney especially is pivoting away from like any type of like customer satisfaction to begin with. And they're going straight to how much money can we squeeze out of you, and it's the easiest if we go after our wealthiest
and quickest.
And it's the easiest. It's like no, we don't want mom buying a $3.95 comic. We want mom buying the $90 omnibus. I mean, it's like
nature abhors a vacuum, and so does entertainment and publishing. There will be things to fill that gap.
Yeah.
We have a super chat from someone named Varian Grant. This is good morning, creatures of culture. Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Grant. Hope you're doing well.
Oh, here, Varian, just for you, for your $2. You get to see my foot.
Oh, wait a minute. There we go. It's a foot.
Oh my God, it's so small.
It's my hobbit foot.
The hobbit foot. That's not a hairy foot at all.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so there you go. There's I hope your $2 was worth it.
Sarah says major capitalism stomping on the other gems. Horrible. Yes.
Yeah.
And Jake goes, feet.
Yeah.
And Mike Jimmy is laughing and saying, uh-oh.
Have you heard that joke about why women have small feet?
Uh-oh.
Go ahead, you started it.
I know.
So they can stand nearer the sink.
Luckily, that's why God invented dishwashers.
That's beyond dad humor. That's granddad humor.
And here's another granddad humor. Why are women's wedding dresses white?
Uh-oh. Are
Careful,
you trying to
Dad.
get us canceled
Careful,
already?
granddad. Yeah.
To match the kitchen.
Oh God!
The thoughts and opinions and jokes of Mr. Fleming are those of his.
Even the
Do
parents
not represent the thoughts
and
and opinions of Indie Volt or its staff.
They're not my thoughts and opinions. That's a joke. Nothing to do with me.
Mike Jimmy saying, Glenn, no.
Don't do
you were
it.
saying before about reprints and things like that.
Sarah says the stove is what I heard. Anyway,
The stove.
Same thing.
it's close to the stove.
You're talking about reprints and the problems with reprinting. Well, I was thinking about Jack Kirby's 2001. They can't get their heads around the copyrights, can they, to reprint that?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when I was doing Crikey 12 years ago. There was the Avengers with Steed in and Emma Peel, not Captain America, the English Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a fantastic series that DC Thompson allowed me to run for the first time since 1969, or at least print pages from, that I put into Crikey about one of the artists who drew it. And I said to the guys at DC Thompson, why is this stuff not out there in a mega volume? And they said because they own the artwork, they own the physical artwork. DC Thompson, I think it's Carlton TV. It might be somebody else now. Own the TV series, and then somebody else actually owns the Avengers, and they can't agree to allow this to be published. So my thinking is, why don't they just publish it and take a third each, or argue?
That would be cooperation. That's beyond the,
argue about it later. Let us see. Let me see it. Let me buy it. I don't care who has the money, but I'm denied that because they can't agree. And it's the same thing with the Kirby thing with the 2001. Could you imagine that being reprinted full size? Can you imagine that? But why? I don't know what the problems are, and I don't know why the problems are. But it's just wrong. It's denying everybody.
And the thing is though, and it's not because they can't agree. It's just that their companies are really, really petty to each other. Yeah. And, it's kind of like the whole Disney, Sony thing. It's like they're really, really petty to each other, and this has more to do with CEO egos clashing than actually putting out a product people want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the music publishing. One person owns owns the actual song. One person owns the composition rights. Another person owns the lyrics. Another person owns the production of it.
That's like with EMI. They own the actual Beatles recordings. They don't own the songs or anything, but they own the actual tape that the recordings are on and stuff like that. It's just crazy. This is why Kate Bush is good, because she's got all that stuff back. She was clever enough when she was 18 or 19 or had people around her. When she signed the contract, she said to EMI, I want to own everything here, tapes, the whole thing in 25 years' time. And they thought that she was just going to be an overnight success. And obviously, she's been one of the biggest artists in the world. And now she actually owns all her songs, the physical recordings, and she can do what she likes with them. And I think that's a brilliant move on her part.
Yeah. Exactly.
She owns Kate Bush, so to speak.
Clever. Because because you got to remember, the whole thing, everyone was goofing on Prince for going to that symbol. What a lot of people didn't realize was that Sony owned his name.
Yeah.
That was his protest against it. But instead, everyone was like, "Oh, he's being, an artsy dick or something." It's like, no. Imagine you can't even use your own name.
Yeah,
he's
right. I mean, really.
But that's what George Michael did as well. He signed a really nice contract for 25 million quid when he was 22 or something, and then suddenly realized later that he couldn't do what he wanted as an artist. They just wanted faith and stuff like that. Sony, and he sued them. Well, the interesting thing about that case is that he sued them, and it was upheld, and then he sued them again, and he won. So how can that be? How can both sides win It just sounds
it's
like the
weird.
lawyer.
It's weird.
The lawyers are making a load of money.
That's the normal way of it.
That's the way it works.
And then when he got out the contract, he re-signed. So what's anyway.
Well, I'm sure it was a much different contract than the first one.
I'm sure it was. Yeah.
Live and learn. Sarah says I have 10 size 10 feet and a gothic kitchen, so I guess I don't fit with the 2 jokes, which is awesome.
But I hope you have a dishwasher. I hope you have a dishwasher, though. Dishwashers changed the world for a reason.
From the desk of a small press publisher says, there goes the super chat. It's been a good week. Glenn's great grand jokes ruined the party. LMAO. He's just kidding, of course.
I resign. I won't tell you any more jokes on air. Got some better ones than that.
That's okay. Mine aren't any better either.
Mike Jimmy says from the desk of a small press publisher, it has been 0 days since our last.
We're going to need that sign. We're going to need that sign.
0 days. Get one of those little boards that the numbers turn on. They're flip like the old "What's My Line" board. It has been flipped 0 days now since we've offended somebody. Yeah.
It should stay 0.
We do need this construction sign for this and all Indie Volt shows, Ellen Neal. Yes, exactly. And Mike Jimmy's laughing. We do. Yes. All right. Hey, anybody read any good funny books lately? I picked up an entire a good run of plops while I was at the Grand Rapids Con. Had a guy there moving some books at $4 a hit. A lot of reading copies. We all remember Plop, right? No, of course not.
No.
Nobody remembers Plop.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
A DC comic ran for a few years. Great Basil Wolverton covers of the most oddest people that you could ever imagine. A lot of interiors by Sergio Aragonis, and another. And the back cover especially. No ad, just a great pinup of the Basil Wolverton artwork. Basil did a lot of work for the early
printed this? Wait, did you say who printed that?
DC
printed that.
Printed Plop. It's a humor magazine.
It's like Ken Reed artwork.
Wow.
I was about to say, Glenn, is it Ken Reed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar to that, isn't it?
Yeah. Really good stuff, isn't it?
That's crazy.
Thinking they're Fantagraphics before Fantagraphics.
I wonder what's going on there.
I wonder what's going on in his head while he's.
That is left here. Imagine. Here's one by the great Wally Wood.
Oh, look at that!
Awesome.
The interior artwork done by a lot of the folks working at the DC staff at the time. Little shorts. A lot of it was Sergio Aragonis on a good day when he was off from or away from Mad. He used to pop into the Mad offices one day a month with a small notepad that he would keep. All of the borders around the covers on most of the early Plop numbers were all done. Look at those Sergio faces of the 3 DC hosts right there.
Jesus Christ.
Just beautiful work. Look at that. A lot of fun. There's some Frank Robbins in here. Just beautiful, goofy artwork. Some incredibly well drawn good girl art by Frank Robbins. And they're very, very interesting stuff. Look at that picture.
It's like you can't get anybody at DC or Marvel to even conceptualize any of this.
Oh, no. Nobody even remembers this book. You never see it reprinted anywhere. They even did a giant size on their way out the door. A Plop giant out of our mind. You'll go Plop out of your mind. Says with the incredibly insane collection of gags calculated to give you 1,000,001 laughs. Look at that.
Squirrel on stilts.
Squirrel on stilts, yeah. He's chasing after through quicksand. The guy goes, "What?" The squirrel on stilts. Crazy stuff. Lots of fun. I picked that up because the Revolt book that we're printing has had a problem with some open pages, 1 or 2 little pagers here and there that are needed. Old gold key Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Oh.
Look at that beautiful painting.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
There was one guy that did the majority of these gold key paintings. I don't remember his name. I just saw an article on it the other day. Star Stream. It's a collection of science fiction stories set to sequential art. Robert Silverberg, Robert Bloch is in some of this. Larry Niven, Gary Niven.
Wow.
The old Classics Illustrated. Remember that? I had to pick this up because it was Faust.
Wow. Damn.
And I'm like, anybody who draws the devil back in the late 40s, early 50s, it's got to be worth $4 to read.
Kirby did Classic Illustrated, didn't he? He did some.
Everybody ended up doing one or two of them along the way, and it's a format that they've tried to do over and over again. Marvel had a great set of Classics Illustrated there for a while. They weren't calling them Classics Illustrated though. I think they were calling Marvel Classics or something like that. And I picked up a whole bunch of old Harvey superhero books.
Wow!
This is Jigsaw, Man of 1,000 Parts.
Who's the artist on that?
I have no idea.
Wow.
None whatsoever, but it's amazing stuff. And then Spy Man. This is actually Spy Man number 3.
Wow, look at that.
And just recently, I found out who did that drawing right there. Any idea? I'll zoom in on it. Let that.
Jack Kirby.
Nope.
Don't know.
Look at that line weight style. You've seen it before.
Ditko?
Except for that big tape tear right there. So, I mean the hand right here.
Yeah. That
is actually Steranko.
Oh wow.
Ah, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's funny
Right
how
there.
you can see it when you're
told it.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, of course. That's got to be Steranko.
When was that published, Randy?
1960. He said having to switch over to his bifocals in order to read it. Give me a second here. I think it was 67.
67.
But I'm not positive. Oh, here I just folded it back. Don't look at that. Do as I say, not as I do, kids. Looking for a date. Volume 1, number 3. Published bi-monthly. Still looking for a date. Illustrated Humor Incorporated. That's what Harvey used to call themselves. Printed in the USA. Copyright 1966. Copyright 1966.
Wow.
Now here's the question. Now that are these books becoming harder and harder to find, or
oh yeah, as more time goes by, yeah.
So it's like because I guess it's like they hold a certain level of popularity that people still want them.
I picked it up for the oddity of it, but I like the unusual books. That's why I've got an issue of Bomba sitting back behind me here. With, I might add, one of my favorite covers that I thought Nick Cardy had drawn at one point, but it wasn't. Look at that cover. That is an amazing cover.
Because I'm kind of imagining a time, in the future where it's like the only books that you're able to
I love
find
that cover. Just
at
amazing.
a comic book convention are like 90s Image Comics or something.
And the dollar boxes, that's what you have. But it's not very often you see a copy of Warfront featuring Dynamite Joe, the blast crazy Marine.
Oh no!
He's back, and he's got his bow and arrow.
Talk about something that you would never see kind of nowadays.
Never.
Look at those guys upside down getting blown up.
Yeah, the guys here being blown up.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Actually, that's a Calip. And the guy says, "We're still in this war, you jokers. Yeah. As long as old Joe has a stick of dynamite left."
Yeah,
that he can tie to an arrow.
Yeah, there really are like
that cigar chomping dude right there.
I mean, relic is not the word I really want to use, but it's like it's like there really are things that are really products of their time.
Yes,
just like exactly. I was watching. JD was watching Babylon 5. And just from the dialogue, I could tell it's like, oh, this predates 9/11, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, by far. Yep. It does.
It's like this predates 9/11 because it's like they were like, it was kind of like watching Starship Troopers almost, where it's like, a lot of the dialogue is very jingoistic and
they had one episode especially with Space Marines going off to war that was
and
very Starship Troopers influence,
and then it's like after 9/11 you really really don't see that anymore. Now it's all like everyone is like somber and, you know, Zero Dark 30 and that type of thing. And it's like, you know, and it's just a completely different military aesthetic that happened.
That was a great episode because they had a female Marine there that was always trying to get Garibaldi into bed.
Well,
she wanted to go. She was about to ship out, and she was going to have her last jollies. Is what she was figuring. And Garibaldi was kind of going, "Well, wait a minute. Well, I don't know if I want this kind of commitment, you know." And she's like, "Commitment? No commitment. Just a couple hours of fun. Come on." Yeah, that's a very interesting story. But that Babylon 5 has got a special place in my heart because of the writing on that show is just so amazing. I love it.
J. Michael Straczynski.
Yeah.
Do you remember that episode of Babylon 5 that was the pause for the adverts on it? You remember that? That was a good episode. Remember that?
That was a TV. It was a TV news show. Yeah.
That was really well written, I thought.
Yeah, they did a couple of those like that, where they were reporting. They were almost like fill-in episodes because you had a guy on or a girl commentator sitting in front of a green screen that cut to occasional clips of the show. Yeah. Red Rider comics.
Look at that.
Oh, Westerns are really big on Kickstarter, aren't they? That's something that's really seeing a revival.
But what really caught my eye on this was the artist. It's dedicated, or it's credited to Fred Harmon, who I had never heard of, but the guy has an incredibly interesting inking style that's very reminiscent to me of like Lee Elias or maybe Frank Robbins, a loose Frank Robbins.
Yeah.
But also some of the facial features here. Let me find a good page that'll show that off. Oh, he also uses a very hardcore stereotype Native American.
That's again,
it's like that's typical for the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Relic of the time is so true. But a lot of the faces here. Now here's a decent page right there. If you look at these faces, it just, to me, it really screams of the old Clutch Cargo cartoon.
Yeah, that's what it was reminding me of. And it's like, damn, you know?
Yeah. And I'm not sure if that's intentional, if the guy who did it is influenced or was a major influence on that style or what, but you can really see it there.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like the fact that they were using this cartoony style to tell a not cartoony story.
Well, I think Red Rider was a comic strip for a while, as well as the movies. And I think the only thing we really know it for anymore is BB guns.
Right.
Old Red Rider BB guns, merchandise type stuff. I'm pretty sure it was a comic strip for a long time. What?
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
That's exactly right. From A Christmas Story. Yeah. There's another great spot blacks right there.
Fantastic.
That's
great
lovely
stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just that face right there.
Yeah.
It's just great. Just a couple of curved lines and phenomenal stuff. Yeah, had to get it. And then I also picked up a Magnus robot fighter by the great Russ Manning with a stereotype Asian Ming, the merciless bad guy in it.
Oh.
Very much Ming. Look at that.
Right, yeah. But I mean, again, it's like, that was the time period, it's like that was the trends of,
It's the 23rd century. We still can't get past Asian stereotypes.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But look at that clean line. Russ Manning, so amazing on this. Just great. All of his Tarzan work and that you could see this is a craftsman just coming through on this. An economy of line. You can see a lot of like Steve Rude, I think actually worked as an apprentice of his for a while. Look at that.
That guy actually looks like Peter Parker, doesn't he, from the side? The hero, whoever.
Right there, yeah, he did. Yeah, he does.
I'll tell you what's interesting as well that you say that about the Asian stereotypes and black people and things like that, is that nobody ever says white stereotypes because they are, aren't they?
Well, that's you go and look at
Yeah,
Al Cap's a Little Abner. That's all.
Well, it's like, yeah, well, that's white trash stereotype. That's different. That's the Appalachian. I mean, it's like, yeah, there are white stereotypes but that's what it's, it's you have to go to poverty,
yeah.
to it's kind of like, we go to Disney and see the Country Bears, and it's like, oh, look at that. It's a show celebrating white poverty in the South.
But they were bears. It's a great skull right there. Of course, the villain loses in the end and turns into a skeleton.
Well, of course. That's Peter Parker for me. He's Spider-Man under that costume.
Yeah. Under that pink tunic.
Yeah.
One of the few true heroes to wear a magenta. And white boots.
Magenta and white.
Very rarely did he strike a foe with a closed fist. He was always using karate chops as well.
Karate chop.
Yeah.
Judo chop, baby.
All right, judo chop. Well, right here on the cover.
It was Russ Lee in disguise.
Always open-handed.
Yeah, baby.
Using the side of the hand to chop through the chop through the neck of the robot.
Now get across the road and get me some sherbet.
Pussycat Kill. Can we talk about that?
Say what?
Can I mention that? Have you guys ever seen Faster Pussycat Kill?
No, I can't say that I've watched it.
His little shorts.
No.
No.
Why? Why did you suddenly want to bring that up?
Well, because one of the main characters had a karate move like that, and she would but the thing is though, she would always go, she would stick out her hand and she would do the chop and she would go, ha! And then there you go. That's the noise. And
we all know
the movie.
We all know you have to make that kind of noise when deploying a karate move. Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's Bruce Lee's legacy.
I don't know if it's available anywhere. Maybe you can go if anyone is curious about watching Faster Pussycat Kill. It's one of these Russ Meyer exploitation.
I think that pops up on Turner Classic Movies every once in a while. A couple times a year, I believe.
I would be surprised if it did. Honestly.
No, not on Turner because they pull a full variety of that kind of stuff.
I don't know. So if you guys want to see that type of
classic
classic karate move in action.
Yeah.
And I also found an old Uncle Scrooge that I hadn't read yet that had a story I had heard a lot about the Flying Dutchman. Let me blow that up and show some Barks work here. Just phenomenal type of stuff. I don't see that very often. Look at that. Really, truly the influence, the major influence for the anniversary right there.
Oh, wow. Look, pocket toys for $1.50.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Get my dinosaurs.
$1.50.
The dinosaur. Everyone had those dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs and biplanes. Lots of cool stuff. This is this also has
anything else.
Yeah.
I believe this is Ernie Cologne doing a Hostess Pie ad featuring Richie Rich.
Oh, Hostess Pie ads. I always wanted one of those because you couldn't get them in the UK. It was like I'd see the Hulk or Captain America beating off a bad guy for a Hostess Pie, and I'd be like, I want one of those pies.
That Hulk advertisement too is especially cruel. I think he runs a few people over with a steamroller.
I always wanted to sell that grit.
Yeah.
Grit? Well, I don't know that. What's that?
That's a newspaper.
Yeah, it's an advert. It was in the Marvel comics.
Right.
They were always looking for kids to sell and distribute grit. Look at that.
Yeah.
Right there.
No, I was so enamored with those adverts that when I finally got to America as a young man, I immediately bought a Twinkie and spat the bugger out.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. I was wondering.
Same here with the Hershey bar.
Yes, hideous. I'm not eating that anymore. Ugh.
Wow, look at that. That's fantastic, isn't it?
That's lovely. So clear and concise.
Yeah. Yep. Right up there, I think, with Hergé and Tintin on a lot of that stuff. Just beautifully rendered work. and
Yeah,
adventure
it's like
stories
you
told
can
on a deadline.
really tell a master by their ability to do like really cartoony work.
Yep.
And you can see like the foundation of their skill even beyond those beyond the duck characters. You know,
Yes.
you can really see the foundation of their work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Some great old reading there.
Yeah.
I also got a copy of OMAC #1
Yeah.
because you don't find girls stuffed in boxes very often.
Well,
I thought
No, it's a one-man army corps.
I thought that series really weird. I think that was really off the wall.
That was
that
Kirby at its most imaginative, you know,
I
just
don't know about that.
one
It's
step
most
beyond.
weird, I think.
Most weird. The 2001 stuff was pretty odd.
It wasn't like that.
Packed away for later use.
God, it's like it. And mind you, it's like there probably was like more weird censorship
Look
back
at that.
then than there is now, and this is still what they came up with.
Well, Kirby was kind of left to his own devices.
Look at that! Look at that! What he's saying there. I'm OMAC. Everybody, what is it?
Look at that
If
hair.
I get this section, I'm going to destroy it. You don't need to know anymore, do you?
Yeah.
Talk about word economy. Get out! I'm going to blow it up.
Says he did it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't even read that. It's so light. Something broken. One-man army broke in here against impossible odds. Of course.
Look at that.
Oh, I love that hair. I love that hair, man.
First character I remember having a mohawk like that.
Well, it's like
In
it's a
comics.
mohawk and Elvis sideburns, and it's like, what are you doing?
Kind of got a Spartan Roman gladiator look to it.
Yeah, you know, I mean,
The
yeah.
helmet.
It's,
The great thing about his work is it was unapologetic.
That's very true.
It was just like, this is
It's-
the way I draw comics.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
the best way
that,
to
yeah,
draw comics.
it's just, you know, I'm bugging out, and you can't stop me.
Yeah. And
So
you
here's
just
the
go
here's
along
the
with the
classic.
ride.
Walking away as the place explodes.
Baboom.
Uh-huh.
Doing that very cinematically.
Yeah.
See so many other films that have taken that and ran
Oh
with
yeah,
it.
yeah,
The
exactly.
exact motif as
Now,
the guy
now
walks
it's
away.
just pure cliche.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Kirby did it first.
Kirby did it first.
By OMAC.
OMAC. OMAC is great, dude.
Welcome,
Well,
welcome back. Mr.
Welcome,
Long.
Varian Grant, to the
He was
program.
great. He was great until they messed with him recently in one of the Batman
Well.
comics, and I was like, well.
Yeah, you know, Burn
Look, they're
Burn
messing
kind
with
of messed him
everything
up too
recently,
way back when.
so.
I want to say just real quick, anytime a man runs into a facility with a mohawk and says, "Everyone out, I'm going to destroy it," that's not a hero. That's a terroristic threat. And
Yeah, well, and it's a warehouse. It's a warehouse filled with women's parts in boxes. You know, it's like, dude.
so he's going to destroy the real Dow factory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We need that place.
Way ahead of its time. Yes, we need that place.
Yeah. How horrible! How horrible! I mean,
Crazy times. Crazy.
Yeah.
But Kirby unbridled, you know.
you know what? Listen, I gotta tell you guys. I know people say, and I know this is gonna be indelicate, but people say all the time, "Oh, these guys are so imaginative and everything." And I'm looking at this stuff. I'm looking at a lot of that art, and I'm like,
No,
I
it's
see
just-
drug use.
I was about to say, yeah, they're just high as fuck. Don't worry.
Yeah. I see drug use.
Kirby was all drug free though. He just pulled this stuff
Yeah.
out of his head. That's when I was growing up, I hated all of this stuff. Demon and OMAC and some of the new gods was cool because it was weird and bizarre, but Mr. Miracle was you know, and it took it took me the appreciation of age to just sit there and
Oh, yeah, no,
marvel at the
definitely.
imagination.
You need You need to watch 1970s children's television in the UK, and then you'll realise where 2000 AD came from.
Right, exactly.
Really?
I could imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was all drug induced, all of it.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, you see, but that's the thing. That's also the reason why a lot of people were disappointed with the whole Eternals trailer and just the whole concept of what they were doing, because it's like, yeah, here was the opportunity to bug out, and they had to like Zack Snyder everything. Like,
but also the way they were just so boring. It's like turning the Lord of the Rings into Friends.
You know,
I think the last trailer that they did is the closest that they've gotten,
because like
to
design
the feel of the property. It's just before you'd look at it and you go, oh yeah, okay, you've been around forever. All right, yeah, we understand.
Yeah.
Where have you
I'll
been?
give it a go, maybe.
Yeah.
Why didn't you help us with Thanos?
Yeah, that's what I like to know.
Because we weren't owned by the parent company yet.
There's some truth.
You know what though?
Varian, what's the numbers today?
I have not checked. I'm not on my computer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm
Thus
coming
the
to you from
icon. Yeah.
I'm coming to you from the sofa.
Oh.
Sofa at an undisclosed location.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Krista had enough of him and tossed him out. So.
Yeah. She was like, all right, get out. You're too much.
Somewhere in a storage shed in Sterling Heights. No.
She had enough after pitches last night, Varian. That was funny, wasn't it?
Yeah, she's here. Yeah, Glenn was on Pitches Be Crazy.
I was told I have to watch that it was rather
it's really
unique.
funny.
Yeah.
Really funny.
It's meant to be funny though, and fun.
I know, but it really was. This is meant to be about comics, and it never is.
Yeah,
that's very true. Well, we try.
Well, I think today we really tried. I think starting off with
covered
back
a wide range of subjects.
Question,
yeah.
But we
got a lot of comics in today.
We did.
I think so.
Apex Comics says Arrow Comics numbers will be huge.
Well, give us a couple of weeks.
Give us a couple of weeks.
Maybe we'll be able to talk about it then.
Maybe.
Yeah, this NDA shit is overrated.
Well, especially like I said, we'll have an episode of Live Wire or Breakfast Buzz sometime, and we'll get into details and talk about that when we can, and it'll be crazy. You sit there and shake your head on a little bit of it.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's like, for all you know, this whole thing explodes, and we won't even have the time to explain anything. It's like, here, just.
Yeah.
Right?
Sarah says I'd be more worried about someone with a mullet.
Well.
Yeah. Than
we've all been there.
Than a mohawk. Yeah. Joe says Varian. So Mr. T is a terrorist, really?
I mean,
LMAO.
Yeah. Look, there are certain things you just can't do now. You can't.
That's true. The A-Team were like, they were like a mini Blackwater.
Yeah. Walk in. I pity the fool. Don't leave this building right now.
They were terrorists.
Blowing it up. Yeah.
I mean, you could hire them for a job. I mean, they can come. Yeah, they come wreck shop.
They're small fortune. That's what they were.
Sarah says Mohawks are sexy. Yeah. Mohawks are sexy. Marvy says
small little terrorist cell.
Well, Varian, you got here just in time to say goodbye.
I did. I just popped in to cause havoc and let everybody know my feelings on that art. It was all drug induced, all of it.
Yeah, I believe it, even though it's not. But
some of the writing was, admittedly, yeah. Don McGregor admits that he was, there was a lot of recreational drugs passing around at the time.
On it like a car bonnet.
Varian, let folks know how they can find you.
Sure. KYD_V on Twitter. You can find me there. You can find me on Facebook, Varian Grant. Pretty much every other social media network is Varian Grant. Make sure you check out indievolt.com. And what else? Oh, Liberty and Hammer Distribution Group,
LEDG US. We have a board for that. Here, let me swing up to that right there.
Yep, LEDG.us.
LEDG.us.
Yeah, and That's where you can find me. Check those places out. I'll be nice. I don't bite.
But yeah, but but definitely if you want to find any, hopefully find any of our books at your local comic book shop,
tell them to head there. Yeah.
Tell them to go to Liberty.
He's getting more retailers on board all the time. So, yep. Russ, tell folks how they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube as Comic Book Black Belt. I'm there on a Monday nights, drinking and drawing. You can also find me over at Fulton Land. We're putting together a book called Outliers. It's homage to Bronze Age superhero books, and it's going to be good fun. So you can find me there on a Thursday. You find me hanging out at Indie Vault with these reprobates, and obviously hanging around Arrow Comics here and there, because Only Death Can Save Us will be released by Arrow Comics soon. Book 2 of Only Death Can Save Us, which will also be released by Arrow Comics, but
eventually
in its first state. It will be available from crowdfunding. The campaign will be going up in October, so look this way, watch this space. You can find out all my social media connections, like the Twitter and the Fleecebook and what have you. Just go to russleach.com or comicbookblackbelt.com. You'll find everything there. Please sign up for the email list so that I can keep people abreast of what's going on. That's about it.
Okay. Glenn, tell folks how they can find you.
You can get all my books and magazines on Amazon, and you can find me on Facebook or contact me by email on comicsunlimitedmagazine@gmail.com. I've also got some presence on Twitter, but I don't go on there a lot. So you just type in my name and go to Amazon. You'll see all my stuff. And as I say, comicsunlimitedmagazine@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Daphne, let folks know how they can find you.
Well, you can head on over to my website, eagleworks.com, where you can find links to all of my galleries and social media sites, but I mostly post to Facebook if you are into seeing sketches and current work in progress updates. You'll also find links to my current and upcoming Kickstarter campaigns with Tall Tales running right now. You can also read the first 5 issues of Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, in its original black and white format. But if you prefer your fantasy to be more of a Lord of the Rings adventure, you can also follow the link to Tall Tales online and read the first 20 issues of Tall Tales for free. And don't forget to sign up for our monthly newsletter, where you can also get $40 worth of free comic book PDFs and also get updated as well of our future campaigns and projects or whatnot. So eagleworks.com. Everything's right there.
Sweet. And folks, I've been your host, Randy Zimmerman. You can find me on Facebook under Randy Zimmerman. You can look for me on Twitter, though I'm not up there very often. You can find Arrow Comics 4.0 on Facebook twice under Arrow Comics 4.0 and Friends of Arrow Comics 4.0 over on Facebook. There is also Arrow Comics on Twitter and Instagram. There's a link tree. If you want to find all of those links, go over there and look for our books to be available through Liberty Distribution here. If not now, then very shortly. And at ledg.us, everything Arrow does will be available through Liberty. The second month's worth of books are waiting to get, or at the printer at the moment. Waiting for final word on that. And month 3 is currently almost finished in production. So we do books like Hero Bot Zero, Indie Volt Revolt, which is a collection of short stories in black and white, 32 pages, available for your retailers to purchase. Luke Stone's Hybrids. We wish Luke's under the weather right now. We wish him only the best of health and hope he gets well very, very soon. Only Death Can Save Us, of course, is there as well. And next month after that are 2 other books, Calico Shard and Paragon, that I thought I had up here. But there's Calico right there. Calico Shard will be out of the printer shortly, which I'm really proud of, by myself and C. Michael Lanning. And then Paragon, which I'm also very, very proud of, by myself and J.R. Harris doing the artwork on that.
This book, I mean, if it's not a breakout, I'll be surprised.
I hope
because
so.
It sucked me in. So yeah.
Now somebody will clip that with this book. It sucked.
No.
Anyway. All right, everybody, we want to thank you so much for listening to our radio audience out there. We deeply appreciate you, the folks here on Facebook and on YouTube. If you haven't gone to YouTube yet, please go over there and subscribe to the Indie Volt channel. Most all of our podcasts are archived over there. If it's not there, then it'll be over on the Roku channel for Indie Volt. Indie Volt has a Roku channel where we've taken some of the programs that YouTube might consider as a little too rough and put just a couple over there for your viewing pleasure. Plus, there'll be more content over there on the Roku channel here shortly. Don't forget Indie Volt Radio. We love all of our radio listeners out there. The Indie Volt Awards are coming up in less than a month, the 18th of September. That's a judged event, not a popularity contest, but an actual judged event, which is so unusual for award shows nowadays. A judged event where we're trying to pull attention to the quality work that's done out there in the alternative and independent market. The submissions for consideration is closed, and the judges are currently getting copies to consider as we speak, or very shortly, I believe. Mr. Varian has stepped out, so I'm not sure exactly how that goes, but on September 18th, we will be broadcasting that live from the local Dave & Buster's, and then we're looking forward to, plus a lot of other national sponsors, we look forward to doing the awards show annually at other Dave & Buster's as we go along. So let me think. Other than that, we will be back Tuesday night for the Live Wire program at 9 p.m. here on Indie Volt Radio, and the usual Facebook, YouTube channels. Then, as a programming note, we will be taking the Breakfast Buzz next Thursday morning off. There will not be a program next Thursday morning. There will not be a Sunday Funnies next Sunday morning, but the following week we'll be back, along with Pitches Be Crazy on Saturday and Geekgasm on Wednesday nights, hopefully, depending upon how the Indie Princess is feeling. Whether or not there'll be another Geekgasm pop-up this week or the week after. So lately she's been swamped with college work and hasn't been able to devote a lot of time to the programming. So, but do stay tuned to the Indie Volt Radio Network. You never know when we'll be breaking in for breaking news, or if anything else exciting happens. If there's some announcements to be made, if there's news out there, we'll break it. So, so stay tuned for that, and we'll see you all next Tuesday. Anything else, Mr. Varian? Anything else to add? Dr. Lord Reverend Varian Grant, are we good? He's not there.
Both
okay,
are muted.
we must be good then. All right, folks, take care. Sorry we ran a little over, and we'll talk to you very soon. We're going out the way we came in. So
That's for Danya.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Yeah.
take care, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourself and others. Make sure you leave this industry in better shape than what you found it, please. And Daphne?
Buy independent comics, especially ours, because Marvel and DC don't deserve that attention.
They don't. All right, folks, take care. We'll see you soon.
Yay! Think about what you've accomplished.
Can you hammer a 6-inch spike through a board with your penis?
Not right now.
A girl's gotta have her standards.
Do you draw the Flintstones naked? There's a mark